minute. I don't have anything in particular to do this evening. I thought a general Hatha yoga class would be really good. Some standard poses, and that's it. All right. So I'm going to hang around by the computer while I admit everyone. All right. Very good. Um, so let's start on our backs, and that will give us an opportunity to stretch the back muscles out before we do some traditional postures this evening. Uh, and however you want to start on your back, whether that's with your legs straight or bent. And in this physical posture, you might consider closing your eyes. You don't have to, though. And you're beginning that transition from the life that normally keeps you busy and active and externally oriented to the internal experience that yoga guides us through, invites us in deeper through. And our breathing might start to deepen as the physical body rests and you fully recognize this time that is meant to be away from the lists, the responsibilities, even you're caring for the world. It's not a cold thing, but our time away from that caring can restore lost energy and in general give us a different perspective when we emerge out of our practice. So it's actually a healthy time to separate. In this separation, we have more energy for ourselves and for the exploration that yoga invites us into. So, with that being said, taking a few more deeper breaths and exploring the inner atmosphere of your body. How has your day affected your body? You might know how your day has affected your mind. But as we're laying down and centering, there might be other things that arise for you, not that you're deliberately contemplating, but sometimes you just can't help it. Things rise to the surface. And you keep turning inwards and breathing a little deeper and noticing the felt experience of being present with yourself. Oftentimes, this conversation around presence feels like a very mental kind of gymnastic experience, but it's supposed to be a felt experience in your whole body, in your whole being. And in that, the mind is held. The mind is held in that felt experience. You may not exactly feel the full aliveness that we tend to feel at the end of a practice. You might feel a bit, you know, kind of dark in some places and maybe more alert to other places for various reasons. No matter what you notice, you keep noticing, breathing, and resting. And even when we move through our more active experiences in our practice, it's all the same. You notice, you breathe, and you rest. Take 3 more breaths here. And then put a bend in your knees And slowly draw your thighs over your abdomen, and this will help you stretch out your back some more. It's important to have a nice extension in the whole of our spine before doing really any of the practices, no matter what the practices are. It's very important to have this extension in our spine. So notice how your back is. And then with the legs fairly close together, circle them around together so that you're circling around your low back, the whole perimeter of your low back, and go slow so that you can feel the upper rim, which is I feel like I'm talking about the Grand Canyon, the upper rim, which is around the base of your rib cage, the lower rim, which is around the top edge of your pelvis, and then you have the right and left sides. So go in the other direction and notice what you feel into this. And just like we might knead dough to bake it, whatever else you might tenderize. That, in a way, is what we're looking to do with our body right now, is to create movement, soften this region. It can feel pretty tough at the end of our day. And then come to center and bring the bottoms of your feet together. If you can, separating the knees to hold the ankles, or if you'd rather, put your feet on the ground for the butterfly, stretching through the inner thighs. And I always imagine that our inhale deepens in this experience. As your inhale deepens, your attention tends to deepen in the body. And this can lessen the mental distraction, enhance the inner feeling, the felt sense of being present. And sometimes that's such a pleasant experience that we want to do more. It in itself becomes an incentive. Good. Then slide the legs away from you. Give yourself a nice long symmetrical stretch. Arms go overhead and legs go long. And this can further give us an extension that we're looking for, not just in the back of the spine, but also in the front of the spine. And then if you alternately reach through the right leg, left arm, left leg, you get to the sides of the spine as well. And so that's a really important aspect of our practice, is starting to feel into the greater dimension of our lives, our physical felt life. Feel the breath moving in and out of your nose. Feel how the tissues are changing shape. And it's like the call of the tissues are bringing your attention deeper inside. And that in itself can be such a good thing. Nice. Come to neutral. Slide the arms down at shoulder height. Stretch out through the arms. Bend at your knees and have your legs close together to give your body a gentle twist from side to side, which will focus primarily on the low back region. You can perhaps feel the bottom rim of the rib cage being changed by the movement of the legs. And with every movement, the encouragement there is to keep noticing, keep resting in yourself. Because as you have that continuum of noticing, something shifts for you mentally, emotionally, physically, energetically. Try it one more time to each side. Great. And then when you come to center, if you have a bolster block or a couple pillows nearby, I'm going to have you slide those underneath your hip for a supported bridge to start. So you might have to get up to get that. So bolster, a couple pillows, blankets, sliding whatever you have there available to you underneath your hips. So your feet are flat on the floor, your knees are bent, and your shoulders are relaxing to the floor, head relaxing to the floor. And we'll take 2 minutes here. And in this 2 minute supported bridge position, we further create some length in our spine. We start to create more width in the upper back. And also, there's a circulatory change in our body. And so I want you to have some quiet, still time to start to notice that shift, especially. The circulatory change can feel like gentle pressure in the face, matched with your breathing. So, some nice, easy, smooth, deep breaths, feeling into your experience. Try to not have the feet too wide apart, but they should be lined up with the hip joints, knees pointing forward. There's a gentle pressure down into your feet that are stabilizing you in the practice. And also, the back of your shoulders are a stabilization point. So, the back of your shoulder blades, and also the back of your head is a stabilization point. Between the shoulder blades and the back of the head, you're now getting some extension through the cervical spine. So that will stretch the muscles in the back of your neck as well as create a better circulation in and around the throat. So they're in a supported bridge right now, Anne. And then, if you want to, taking the feet towards the ceiling for a supported inverted action. If the pressure isn't too great in your face, you don't have a headache or any sinus pressure, and you're not in a menstrual cycle. And this could be a really nice opportunity for moving through your feet and your toes and stretching through the back of your legs. And maybe you just want to place your legs there in a still space. And you continue to notice, resting your arms, your shoulders, your head, your face, working with smooth, deep breathing and feeling into the tissue change, right? There's going to be a tissue change, some stretching, mild engagement of your hip flexors and abdomen. And we'll stay for another minute or so. Smooth, deep breaths. Stay aware. About 8 more breaths here, just so you have an idea about how long. The supported inversions are therapeutic in nature. Doing them in the middle of the room for longer periods of time, with your legs against the wall or on a piece of furniture, be very helpful for anxiety, um, tension in the legs and feet, especially if you're sitting a lot throughout the day. Bending at the knees and bringing the feet to the floor again. Now, another position that's nice here is to extend the legs straight out, resting on the floor. And there's another version of bridge, supported bridge, long legged. Just make sure your prop isn't too high underneath you. Otherwise, you might feel too abrupt in the pelvis, being open towards the ceiling. And you would like a nice opening through the front of the hips and the thighs, as well as into the lower back. You could add the extension of the arms up overhead or even into a goalpost position, to open and extend more through the upper body if that's pleasant, as well as one leg at a time is a nice alternative. And the other alternative is no prop at all underneath you. Maybe going back to a symmetrical stretch without anything underneath you. So see what you feel. The focus is on the front of the hips and the low back. and you're working with the smooth, deep breaths. And you see, this idea of being present sounds like a really nice thing to do for yourself, but to do it for long periods of time can be difficult. Um, so you just keep calling your attention to the sensations in your body as you're in a position, and maybe even the experience of the space of the room around you, what's under you, um, the space around you, as well as what's above you. Another maybe 3 or 4 breaths. We're somewhat doing a backwards version of a traditional yoga practice, starting with an inversion. Um, Good. All right. So then you'll bend your knees and remove that prop from underneath you, keeping your knees bent and letting your back rest towards the floor. Placing the hands around your abdomen, and then give a little rock to your head side to side. This can help bring about a nice range of motion in and around the neck. And then let your head come to center. And you'll exaggerate your breathing for a little while, inhaling and expanding the abdomen, exhaling and contracting the abdomen. You might also employ the muscles of the pelvis, the back, and the base of your pelvis. The inhale gives you time to relax and stretch the abdomen. The exhale, you slowly consolidate the tissues of the abdomen. Try that 4 or 5 more times. Good. And then you'll let that go. Straighten your right leg long on the floor and hug your left thigh into your abdomen. So you're starting with a reclining lunge, holding around the knee or the shin, relaxing your shoulders and extending the right leg long. So left leg is in and right leg is long on the floor. Take a few deep breaths into that. Again, relaxing the shoulders, the senses. This is a really good time for relaxing your attention through your eyes, your ears, even soften the jaw. And then I was thinking about having you go into a twist from here where your left foot would go on top of your right thigh and you would roll over towards the left side or the right side. Sorry. There you go. Go over to the right side and tucking your left hip underneath you and extending out through the arms, your right hip, sorry, and resting through your head. Now, if this is too deep of a twist, it's bothering your hip or low back, consider bending both knees and stacking them on top of each other, as well as maybe having something underneath the knees. Um, as I mentioned in the beginning, having a nice extension to the spine is very important before doing any postures, especially twists. Because what can happen here now is we can open space around the discs, around the nerves. If our spine is real tight, and maybe even we're up piercing gravity, there could be too much contraction around the disc. Here also, creating a nice clearing for the internal organs. You might exhale a little longer and compress the abdomen gently back in a similar way that you were just doing in that abdominal pelvic exercise. And here, not so much for strengthening are you doing it, but for clearing and cleansing, cleansing the internal tissues in the solar plexus. Try 2 or 3 more breaths. And then coming back around through center, bending both knees, place the hands back on the abdomen. Rearrange your pelvis and your spine so you feel balanced. Maybe 4 repetitions of a pelvic tilt and tuck that aren't necessarily about abdominal pelvic engagement, but more about a range of motion that gives you some fluidity in and around the low back. And that can also give you an in for noticing if that twist was a little bit too much and maybe taking a different variation when we go to the other side. Good. Then relax that and hugging your right thigh into the abdomen, letting your left leg go long. Taking several breaths there. So the runner's lunge will stretch the roots of your hamstrings on one side and the hip flexors on the opposite. Resting through your shoulders, your jaw. You're never looking to grab hard at your body. And letting the foot go towards the thigh and rolling your whole body over to the left hand side and tucking your left hip underneath you. Using any props again that make this position feel good to you. Stretching out through the arms, putting the head in a comfortable place. You might again choose that longer exhale. Twists, because of their consolidating physical nature, can also help consolidate our mental and emotional energies. So, seeing maybe where you might resist that and allowing yourself to trust in the practice and in yourself. About 3 more breaths here. Good. Then, once again, coming back around through center and repeat the pelvic tilt and tuck again. So, this helps balance out the extension in your spine, front and back, right and left. Great. Good. Releasing that and then rolling over onto your abdomen in crocodile. And you roll over onto your abdomen in crocodile. Your arms are stacked on top of one another. The arms are drawn in close underneath your head, so your forehead rests on your forearms. Your abdomen is wide against the floor as your chest is lifted away from the floor. And your legs might also go a little wide, making room in the pelvis and the hips, and the feet can be relaxed, turned in, out, or straight back. As you settle and rest the abdomen and the hips against the floor, there's a new sensation for you to be aware of. Now you've stretched these tissues and worked these tissues already with our practice, but having the tissues against the floor creates a new sensation. You tune into that gentle, persistent pressure that comes from the floor. The three things I've been mentioning. You notice, you work with your breath, and you rest. So, noticing, breathing, and resting. Resting doesn't mean you're not doing anything. Resting means that you continually reduce the mental obstacles that would prevent you from being absolutely present. The term yoga involves many different techniques, but ultimately it's the technique that binds us to ourself, the unlimited self, even beyond soul and spirit. And that can be experienced only when you're in the present moment. So we continue to work to engage in our yoga, uniting with ourselves, the intelligence of ourselves. In crocodile, we not only can dispel tension, but we can build strength in the diaphragm. And that too can lend to us feeling more of this dimension of our physical body. Sides of the rib cage, back of the rib cage, low back, maybe hips. Take about 4 to 6 more breaths here. Then bring the legs closer together and we'll go into Sphinx position. In Sphinx, your elbows are underneath your shoulders, your palms are wide, and your legs are directly stretched back from your hips. It's a slightly forced back bend that opens the front of our spine from the pelvis all the way to the breastbone through the throat. You can still have your eyes closed here, turning your attention within and sending your breath down through the spine to the pubic bone and back up through the spine to the forehead, pressing down through the wrists and keeping the palms open. Take 3, 4, 5 more breaths, whatever feels good for you. You're working into the deeper curvature of the lumbar spine and the cervical spine and flattening the thoracic. So right in the middle there, that large portion of your vertebral column is being pressed in the opposite direction that it normally goes in. Hence why these back bends at times can feel difficult. We'll lower down to the floor to push ourselves up to hands and knees. Stationing ourselves in table, pressing through the shins, stretching through the fingers, right through the tops of the feet. So you want to be grounded through the shins and tops of the feet. As you now start to go through your traditional cat-cow with the breath, exhaling as you arch up and inhaling as you arch down. Still with eyes closed if that's comfortable for you. As we make our way from being less on the floor and more to a physically upright position, it's easy for our senses to become, distracted by what we see. We didn't clean the room we're in, or whatever it might be. So you want to keep turning inwards, remembering that no matter where you are, during your practice, this turning inwards is what is going to bring about the greatest wealth and satisfaction. Good. All right, come to center. Sit back either into a closed leg child's pose or wide leg child's pose, whichever feels good to you. Stretching the arms forward, perhaps. If it's more comfortable, put your arms underneath your head. Giving yourself a forward fold that helps open up your hips, stretch the shins, and lengthen the spine. If the legs are close together, keeping a very deep breath will be a little hard, and that's fine. There's certain practices where we let go of that deep breath, so no worries on that. Staying just a little bit longer. Noticing how the area of your head feels around the senses. Does it feel clear, calmer, more open? Maybe, maybe not. All right. Come up on a child's pose, tuck the toes under, and stretch out the bottoms of your feet. So toes are tucked under, stretching the feet. Hands could be by the knees or maybe on the thighs. You don't want to go to that place where you feel like you're ripping the feet stretch, but you're opening the space and it feels good, right? Again, we're going for that sense of aliveness that matches what our goals are really in practice. In general, maybe it's just more balance. That's good too. Take another 3 breaths there. Okay. And then let's come up to stand. So do some nice simple practices in standing. Okie All right. So in your standing position, legs right underneath you. And let's start some nice big circles with the arms, opening up the shoulders, opening up the chest. And still, when you're comfortable, you could close your eyes. Let the breath deepen. So notice, breathe, and rest. And then take the arms in the other direction. Pull the arms behind you and forward, opening up around the shoulder blades and the back of your rib cage. Good. And then relax that. Keep the legs right underneath you. You're going to have your hands on your thighs as you bend your knees and then let the hands slide all the way down, perhaps either to the floor or you might have blocks or something like that. And then bend the knees deeper still, sweep the arms out to the side and lift up in a soft back bend. And that's how we'll go about it for a little while. Exhaling as you forward fold, slide your hands down. Bend the knees deep when you're ready to inhale and sweep up, soft back bend. Let the hands slide to the heart. Good. Try that 3 more times. Exhaling, forward fold, releasing down. Inhaling, rising up, stretching those arms out, soft back bend. Good. Try it again. See how that feels. So some nice movement, not too vigorous to waste your energy, but enough perhaps to create some warmth in your body. Soft back bend, and then bringing the hands to the heart and pausing there. Fixing your gaze forward. And then leaning over to the left leg for tree, turning the right foot in. As you gaze forward, you press the right foot in towards the ankle. And this might be the most pleasing place to stay. Maybe the foot climbs up onto your shin, the side of your shin, or maybe you reach down and draw it towards your inner thigh. So whichever version is going to be best for you to stay, let's say for 6 breaths. So if you stayed in this position for 6 breaths, you want to be relatively comfortable. You don't want to be too challenged. Feeling the steadiness in your physical body, then there can be a really nice change in the energetic part of you. There can be a greater connection to you. and hence the yoga begins. When you ground the right foot, interlace the hands, turn the palms forward, stretching the fingers and the bottom of the wrists out. Then raise the arms up above the head. Push down through the legs, firm through the pelvis. Then give yourself a very gentle back bend, opening up through the chest, the base of the rib cage, maybe across the chest. Then release the hands from one another. Squeeze the shoulder blades as you draw the elbows down slowly. And then release the arms. Bring the hands back to the center of the chest as you lean into your right foot, right leg, turning the left foot in. Gazing forward, you're anchoring through that right leg, pressing in through the left foot. And then again, if the natural state of things tells you to raise the foot up higher, that's fine. But remember, that's not a necessity here. So you're looking forward, you're anchoring down, and you're lifting up through the torso, the crown of the head. You're going back to that kind of three-part experience of noticing, breathing, and resting. And that I guess I want to say thread is what truly rejuvenates us, mind and body. And most of us are looking for that. We need that. Good. You're going to release, set the foot down, bring the arms down. Then we're going to slide forward into a longer hold forward fold, bending your knees like you did previously, and then setting your hands comfortably. So they're either comfortable on the floor or comfortable on blocks or chair. Start with your knees bent and perhaps keep your knees bent the whole time. The knees bent position allows for a softness then to occur through the back, right? And we want this to be a mutual experience between the legs and your torso, not just a harassment for the hamstrings. If you need to, you can separate the legs a little bit more, and that can lessen the tension in the hamstrings. You want to get to that place where it's comfortable to let the head rest down. So there's now this extension from your low spine to the spine in your neck. And this becomes a mild inversion where that fluid change now dramatically affects the endocrine glands in the upper part of your body and the brain. Then you can feel the effect through the back of your torso as well as the back of your legs. And create any changes that you need to for more connection. So rarely do we do any position in yoga for just one part of our body. It's usually a global experience that we're looking for. Maybe 4 to 6 more breaths, depending on your comfort level. Noticing, breathing, and resting. Now come up soon, but bend your knees first. Bend the knees, sweep the arms out, and then hold yourself about halfway. So the torso is parallel to the floor, reaching the crown of the head forward, tailbone back, arms out to the side. So this is a kind of a heavy duty exercise here for strengthening the upper back, spreading out through the palms. Then slowly draw the torso up as you draw the pelvis underneath you. Arms can come alongside the head if that's reasonable for chair pose. If the arms alongside the head is not feeling so great, bring the hands to the heart or any other variation that feels good to you. Pointing the knees forward, drawing up through the pelvis. Take another breath or two here. Feel the power of your legs, your lower body. And then draw the hands to your heart as you stand straight up. Then bring the hands on top of your hip bones in the back, elbows back. Draw up through the pelvis as you bring your spine behind you for a soft standing back bend. Watch that you don't throw your head back too far, right? Nice soft extension through the whole of the spine, not pushing your hips forward. And then bring your torso back to center, release the arms. Step your legs about 3 feet apart, and we'll go into triangle position. Turn the left foot out at a 90-degree angle and the right foot in. Starting with your hands on your hips, shift your hips to the right, holding that nice extension through the spine that we've worked so hard to cultivate right from the very beginning. And then if it's reasonable, stretching the left arm down to rest maybe on your thigh or shin, and right arm out of the shoulder joint. You might be looking forward or looking down. The only time you really want to look up is if you get a decent rotation in the rib cage, and turning your head up doesn't create a hardship for your neck. So usually looking forward is good enough. Try maybe 4 more breaths here. Triangle is a great circulatory position. Helps move circulation to our periphery as well as back to our core. This is how our body runs the show here. Lots of cleansing and nourishing happening because of those two vehicles of circulation, going to center and going to the periphery. Good. Then bend your left knee, and we'll stay on this side, but take the right foot back behind you slightly as you deepen the bend in your left knee. Raising the arms up, turn the palms up, and now rotate your head to look beyond the left hand. So you're in warrior two position. Try not to be too stiff in the arms, but expanding through the arms from the center of the chest, from the upper back, reaching out through the fingers and the thumb. Again, notice, breathe, rest. Turning the palms down, releasing the arms. Bring your legs close together. Rest the arms at your sides. Close the eyes if it's comfortable for 6 breaths in Tadasana. As you draw the pelvis under very slightly, then send your attention down from your head to your feet on the exhale. And draw your attention up from the feet on the inhale to the top of your head. Feeling the space above your head and the space below your feet. Good. Opening the eyes. Bring the hands to your hips as you take your feet wide apart, turning them to the right for triangle. Shifting your hips to the left and holding that nice extension in the spine. Again, if it feels good to you, stretch your arms away from the center of the chest, either resting the hand on the thigh or the shin. The goal isn't to go down as far as possible. The goal is to maintain this extension in the spine. And as you reach out through the arms, you're helping facilitate that change of circulation in your chest and upper back. You notice, you breathe, and you rest. And you see, is this possible in this position now? Can I continue to do that? Noticing, breathing, and resting? If not, adjust your physical position so that you can. Then you're going to put a soft bend in the knee to come out of the pose. Take the left leg behind you more and put a deeper bend in your right knee. You're sitting and resting in the legs and drawing up through them as you raise the arms, turning the palms up, spread the fingers out. Again, not too much tension here in the arms. You want the arms to feel comfortable in their extension. Gazing beyond the right hand. Take another 2 to 3 breaths. We turn our body in all these different ways to feel that dimension of ourselves. A lot of times, this is what brings about greater faith and trust in ourselves. Release the arms, turn the feet forward. You'll take another forward fold. Bend the knees as you transition downwards. When you get to a place of rest, turn the toes inward slightly. So as you turn the toes in, the heels go out. Again, a soft bend could be in the knees to facilitate a connection through your torso and legs. And then if it's comfortable, you can put a little bit less of a bend in the knee. Having the toes turned in gets you into the ankle joint, the side of your shin. It also opens up the space in the base of your pelvis, around the tailbone region. Always make sure you're relatively comfortable so that you can stay for a while and investigate the spaces of your body that you're being called to notice. Letting the head rest, that can be a tremendous relief for the muscles of your neck. Again, we put ourselves in mild inversion, so some changes take place on that cleansing and nourishing level in a deeper way. Staying for another 6 breaths or so. And start to turn the toes forward and then bring the feet a little closer together. And we'll work in a lunge. So I'm going to put my hands on the floor and bring my left leg forward and my right leg back behind me. So the hands could be on blocks or a chair to make that possible. My arms are on the inside of my left leg. And you could be on your fingertips or your fists. Tuck the toes under of the right foot and lift the knee momentarily, and then bring that knee back down and flatten the foot, letting your hips sink. We've done a couple exercises so far that have helped influence the front of the hip joint. So you can notice right now how that feels. And then we're going to put a gentle twist into the spine. Bring your right arm a little closer to the left leg and left hand on top of your left thigh. Then rotate towards the left thigh. Keeping extension in the spine, maybe you turn the head just a little bit more and stay just for 2 or 3 more breaths. Then your transition, it could be either an extended child's pose or a downward dog. As you bring both hands to the floor and sweep the left leg back. And then moving your hands over to the left to draw the right leg forward. Arms are on the inside of the right leg. Then tuck the toes under and press back through that left heel a little bit more. Then sink the knee, flatten the foot, let the hips sink. Good. Then right hand to the right thigh, press down and forward as you rotate gently. Great. All right, unwinding, and then once again going into child's pose or downward dog. Resting the head, engaging through the legs and arms in whatever way is working for you right now. Good. All right, if you're in downward dog, come down to your knees, and then we'll go into a squatting position. In the squatting position, you could do it with or without props. If I was using props, I would put them underneath my hips. Feet are wide, and my elbows are either to the inside or the top of my knee. And you're putting some pressure between the arms and the legs. In this pressure, we're consolidating our attention right through the central axis of the spine and maybe right to the center of the mind. Closing the eyes and turning inwards. And it can be one of those experiences where you're exhaling down through the center of the spine to the pelvic floor and inhaling from the pelvic floor up through the center of the spine to the center of the mind. And try that perhaps 6 or 8 more times. And the breath here is not as vigorous as what we've been participating in through the program. It's a little less vigorous, a little bit more subtle and internal, that can help us move towards our relaxation momentarily. This pose doesn't look super impressive, and yet there's a lot to be felt here and a lot to be explored. It's a very helpful one for managing our blood pressure, our heart rate. Good. Okay, now soften and move into your supported relaxation. So that could be with something underneath your knees, underneath your head. You might choose to dim the lights, cover up with something. We're back to some chilly weather. And even when the temperatures go up in the spring, it still feels a little chilly because of the water and whatnot. So find your way to a place that's going to feel very nourishing to you. And again, the lights you might dim in your room. Relaxation is an inward journey. It requires much of our attention, and yet it's meant to be comforting, um, soothing, and again, bring about a certain amount of confidence in ourselves in the practice. So you find yourself in this position. And in the beginning of our class together, I was mentioning the experience of being alive. Aliveness might be another way of putting it. It's not so easy in the beginning of our practice because of how dissipated our mind has been throughout the day. Even if it's been pleasantly dissipated, you're doing things that you like, your attention is still outward, it's not inward. So having done a nice practice and more attention inwards, and also hopefully there's some relief within your physical body because of the practice, the sense of connected aliveness through all parts of you is present. And if it's not, there's no worries, because there's always more practice to do. You take this general noticing, and then also you might alter your position if it's not truly relaxing. And without manipulating your breath, you notice your breathing. So we're not looking to practice changing our breath any longer. we're looking to practice noticing our breath and letting the physical body rest. Rest into the floor, over any props, whatever we might have under us or around us, we look to rest into, and then rest within ourselves. We start focusing on the face now and calling some attention to these areas of our face can help us notice if there's little parts of us that is still kind of tense or maybe not connected to. And so you connect to forehead, lids of the eyes, jaw and mouth. And you revisit all those areas. In that connection, again, there could be a spark, a lightness around the sides of your head, the back of your head, around your neck and your throat, and across your shoulders, through your right arm, into your right hand. You notice, you breathe, maybe wake up a little bit more to this space. Let your attention move out of that space to the center of your chest. Then move to the left side, left shoulder, left arm, and left hand. You look to rest and notice that space. Then you come out from that space, rest at the center of the chest. And rest around the abdomen. If you can, noticing the right side of the abdomen. And then the left side. Around your waist and into your low back. And around your hips. Notice your legs, all around your thighs, around your knees, the lower legs, into your ankles and your feet, and maybe a little bit more discrimination there in the tops of the feet. Notice the tops of the feet and the length of the toes to the tips of the toes. Notice the back of the toes and the bottoms of the feet. And see if very softly and slowly your attention can rise from the soles of the feet through the center of the body to the top of your head, and then descend with your attention. And this ascent and descent can flow with your inhale and exhale. And it's a body scan where perhaps you can, by noticing, you let go of tension or you become more alive in areas. And ultimately, wanting to feel an experience through your entire body and your mind. A sense of embodiment. And then if you let go of the flowing breath, Gradually allow your experience to feel the general station somewhere, maybe in the general center of the body, maybe around your lungs. And you feel the overall effect of your practice. And taking some time to take in the good, um, the goodness of your commitment to practice, the goodness that can come from the techniques, and the goodness that can come from a wide community of practitioners that are here to support one another on the journey of self exploration as well as transformation. It's at this time where I'll leave you to either continue with your relaxation or go to a meditation, saluting that light within each and every one of you. Namaste. Be well.